Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues, I'm Anthony. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, a doctoral student in clinical psych, a nerdy AF cat dad, and I care about you.
Oh, I love that. And I'm Lulu, and my pronouns are he and him, and I am a black gay, obvious, of course, polycurious, sometime drag queen in recovery for alcohol and meth.
Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for people in recovery.
By tackling topics used to separate us.
But before we do that, please remember to like, share, and comment on anywhere you're watching or listening to this podcast.
Hey, Lulu.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
You know what? Have we noticed something different?
Oh, yeah. We're missing someone today.
I know.
Who
exactly.
is it?
Well, Bonnie is unfortunately, Bonnie, just before the podcast, Bonnie, unfortunately, is not feeling well. And so she said, go and do it yourself.
Bonnie Violet, if you're at home, we are missing you.
I know. It's like hopefully, if you're not too sick, you can comment and like and share. No.
So Lulu, how was your week? We've had a lot of things go down in the last 7 days?
Yeah, no. The week was really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this holiday season's been really festive for me. Like I've made it a point to do things that I normally wait till the last minute. I went to see Golden Girls. I went to see A Christmas Carol. Just been hanging out with friends. And obviously I work retail, so it's been crazy. How about
you? Way too much socializing. Well, it was great, right? So I went to 2 different parties. One was hosted by our production guy who's on the other side of the camera. He's waving. That was a lot of fun. We played this, I think it's called Neanderthal Poetry. That was a lot of fun. And then the day before that, I played Taboo, chilled with Michael K.
I actually popped over there for about an hour, but I think I left before everyone.
Yeah. So let's just jump into today's topic. So today is a retrospective looking back at 2021 lessons learned. And so before we got started with today's podcast, over the last week, I was encouraging the rest of the team to think about things, lessons that we've learned, and ways to kind of share those things with you. And let's let that simmer for a second. I'll say this much. On my way to the Castro Country Club today, I was in this very introspective mood. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, what is it? What are the lessons exactly? And what's sticking? I have this long list here. How about you?
No, I didn't write anything down, but it's definitely been in my head because it feels like it's been such a long year.
Yeah.
I know for a fact going into this year, I was thinking, yay, we're going to have a vaccine. Everything's going to go back to normal, whatever. And the truth of it is now we're even deeper in the rabbit hole or the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. I feel like this year has probably forced a lot of us to find different ways to engage with each other, to deal with our demons. I know for sure a lot of this kind of downtime brought up a lot of stuff for me, right? Because a lot of the things that I was using to distract myself or just to engage in weren't there anymore, like going to the gym, hanging out with friends. And so, I had to contend with everything that boiled up.
Yeah. I think that some of the behaviors or some of the things that I changed in 2020, I've kind of carried them over into this year, especially after getting vaccinated, and then still having to kind of, go through this with as much grace as possible. I think maybe the biggest lesson I've had to learn this year is patience. Patience for not just for myself, but for other folks, especially working in retail. Well, because I have this attitude, I'm constantly doing work on myself. And so some of the frustrations that I see other folks have with the fact that things aren't back to normal and how they're reacting. Normally my go-to Virgo behavior is I want to judge them.
Yeah.
But,
go ahead.
No, but
So it's interesting because as I was writing out my list of lessons learned, I was also thinking about, hey, that's my stepmom. Oh, wait, she said hi, brother. So I think that's my baby brother's on my mom's account. Hey,
nice.
guys.
Nice.
So when I was drafting up my list, one of the things I was thinking about was how intense and heavy and serious my lessons were. And I'm like, it can't, like, do lessons always have to be that serious? So I'm saying this because I definitely relate to patience. I certainly have had to learn how not to open my mouth, right? Like, not every feeling and thought I have is worth sharing, especially when I'm annoyed.
You know, what's interesting. So that's a lesson that I think I learned early in recovery, but I have to keep relearning because, like, the most important, the most valuable lesson I learned is, like, if it's not solicited, maybe you don't share it. And and as much as I want, what the way that I've helped myself get past that, because it obviously is not going to go away just because I wish it away or will it away.
Right.
Is that I have sponsees and I have people that I'm really cool with. And so if we're really cool and close and I know you and that's our relationship, because I think it comes down to, if it's our relationship, then I can open my mouth and say whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think that with my friends and friendships, I want you to feel like comfortable enough to say, hey, Louis, you fucked up. And in turn, I'm going to do that because I'm going to do that.
You know, years ago, I think I was a teenager and I was at this Chinese restaurant and there was this sign on the wall. I don't know why I remember this, but there was a sign on the wall. I'm like making myself laugh. There was a sign on the wall and it said, patience is a virtue. Virtue is a grace. Put them together and you'll have a smiley face.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's super sweet. The other thing is, while we're on the topic of patience and it being this continuous thing that we engage in, patience with ourselves. Yeah. I feel like that's a Lulu statement, to have patience with ourselves.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't think it's a Lulu statement, because I want everybody to know, I'm just going to say it now. This is my admission for the year.
What is
that?
It?
If all these little grains of these little nuggets of wisdom that I have, they come from all around. What I do is I take them from other people and I nuance them and make them kind of mine, so that when they come out, they flow like poetry, and it sounds like I'm all completely, like, spiritual and in with it
and enlightened. Yeah, I have this theory that brilliance, when people are in pursuit of excellence, they essentially start sounding the same, right? Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of our hey, we have something coming in.
I know Larry Decker from Sacramento. Hi, Larry. But this year has felt like the longest year. And you know what's
Larry? Yes.
Just before we came on the air, I was telling Anthony the same thing. This year has felt long.
Yes.
Because the first part of the year, obviously before, like, the vaccine and before, like, I moved out, like, I was still in a relationship with a roommate that, we were friends and family close enough, but it was challenging. And I was like, didn't see an end in sight.
I think church.
That was a part of the lessons learned. That's, like, not to take anything for granted, because I had a relationship with this person. I know you can know a person forever and still not know them.
That's right.
And so that was a valuable. Also, it's like I learned I love living by myself.
Yeah,
it's so.
Yeah, let the church sing. But there's more messages coming in.
Oh, it's Bonnie.
Lessons learned, acceptance of love and all its forms. Oh, Bonnie Violet, that's so gentle.
Absolutely.
I think it bears repeating. Number one lesson: acceptance of love in all its forms. Ooh.
I know, because it's like, I think the one thing that, I don't know about you, but the one thing that I thought that love, you just think that love is just something that's natural, flows or whatever. But if you're blocking it, or if you're not letting it out or whatever, because I think that the most beautiful thing I heard is, like, it's not love until you give it away. And maybe it's not love until you take it in.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of the lessons that I learned this last year. I'll just read it right off. I wrote here: sometimes the next step comes in a whisper. Right, and I just have to quiet the noise in order to hear it. And so that lesson came to me when I was thinking about my previous relationship. We were living together, and there were moments in the very beginning where I wanted to break up with him. And, like, the decision was very clear, right? But I always ignored that little voice inside of my head that just wanted cultivating. And then there were 3 more experiences where there was that voice in my head. And I kept not trusting it or trusting myself. And so what I've realized kind of going forward in my life is that I have to get quiet in order to hear the whisper. right? I had a professor in undergrad say to me that a lot of people think that intuition is this kind of gripping feeling in our stomach. And she was saying, actually, no, it's quite gentle. It's you when you just know.
Yeah.
And I think we've all had that experience. How about you, Lou?
Well, I just wanted to ask, so like you said, you just had to get quiet, but when you're in it, how do you get quiet? Because like like as much as I want to be able to kind of just bring it back, sometimes it's like when things racing, like, and you've experienced this. I've seen it firsthand here. What do you do? What have you been doing?
I love that question, Lulu. I think so. I wanted to go back to what you just said, which is like, how do you quiet down when you're in the thick of it? I think that is such an awesome point, and here's why. When I was in the thick of it, it was really hard for me to hear it, but because of the work I had done up until that point on myself and recovery, there was some awareness there. And the other thing I realized is it was harder to hear because I hadn't taken care of myself the way I was before, right? So what do I mean here is that I wasn't taking time by myself, right? Like, so I think that's the first thing here is that the lesson I learned is I need time with myself to be quiet. And I think by extension of that, I think that's kind of how, with my own recovery, like when I think about like the things I've learned about myself, all that noise kind of leading up to the day I decided to get sober was so noisy. It was so noisy. And then one of the things that happened as a result of getting sober is that things started to silence. And then I started to, the feelings, obviously, they come to the surface. And then every kind of unresolved issue I had also came to the surface. How do you make space?
So honestly, for me, I have to keep, like, I love my downtime. Like, I've talked about this a number of times.
Yes, you have.
I love, it's the self-care. It's like the going home and sitting down and doing nothing. It's the knowing that, like, I don't have to, like, I don't have FOMO when I don't have FOMO.
Yeah.
It's basically like one of my favorite things to do. I like to set my alarm for a couple hours before I'm supposed to be awake.
Like that.
So I can just chill in bed and kind of ease into the day.
Yeah. Have you heard of, sorry, go ahead. I'm just really excited.
No, I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Okay. Have you ever heard of JOMO?
No, give it to me.
Joy of missing out.
Ooh, okay, right on.
Yeah, you don't
and
have to.
Actually, on TikTok, they had this sound, and the guy says, "Yeah, I'm probably not going to go. I'm probably not going to go." Because I always say it's like, I just want to be invited so that I can still have the option of not going. I'm not going. I was going to talk about something, a lesson learned.
Let's hear it.
And I tie it to like what I shared before about the roommate situation from before, and then also I had talked about it kind of not ad nauseum, but a few episodes, I talked about a situation I had with a close friend. We went traveling together. We went somewhere together, and it didn't work out, and we felt things were not cool. And it was one of those things where I had anger and frustration because I was in my feelings about it or whatever, and I was not sure how to move forward. And I was asking myself, did I even need to move forward? That's another lesson. It's like, as much as I think I need to make things right, sometimes you don't have to make things right. You just need to let things be what they are.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So one of the last ones I have here is I don't have to process every fucking experience that I have. My friend calls it analysis paralysis. Not that she invented that. We've all used it, but I've had this tendency of having to dissect every uncomfortable feeling I have, or every like affront, and sometimes you just don't have to process things.
Yeah, and I think with that second situation, what ended up happening, I was able to kind of give it the time it needed, so that, because I knew that I wanted to go back and have a conversation with this person, but I also realized that the relationship needed to change. It needed an overhaul.
Yeah,
and that the only way I could do that is if I were able to do that in a loving way, a graceful way, but while the anger was there was no way I could have a conversation that would have come from anything. But the bigger lesson in all this is that I think that if I'm not honest, if I'm being dishonest with you, it can cause me a great deal of pain. And what I mean by that is like, if I'm leaving things out of a mission because I'm trying to accommodate you, if I'm not telling you what's really going on, if I'm just kind of going along with it because I'm afraid of conflict or whatever, then nothing good comes from that. And the situation, like with the roommate, is that I initially, when we went in, I said, home is sanctuary, and I like this to be peaceful. But I was also bringing past situations with roommates, and so I was not wanting to be overbearing, not wanting to rock the boat or whatever. But the truth of it is that it's a business arrangement, and everything needs to be dealt with when it needs to be dealt with.
That's right.
You can't hold on to it, because if you hold on to too much of it, then you have situations where we explode here and there. And then with the situation with the friend that I was traveling with, not making assumptions that the person knows what the hell you're thinking.
Right.
And we've realized that it's for both of us.
Yeah.
But for me, on my end, all I can do is talk about, like, one of the things that I do, like when I'm uncomfortable, I rely on things like the phone or whatever. I will find a place. I have moments where I don't do crowds well, and so I will find a way to kind of be okay. And I don't need anybody to take care of me, but I need to. This is how I take care of myself. But I can't just assume that folks around me understand that that's what I'm doing, because it can come off, maybe it may not be comfortable for some people. It may seem a little rude.
Yeah.
And I can't just assume that that I'm not being rude.
I just want to take this moment to invite anyone listening to chime in. If there's a lesson out there that you've learned, if there's anything that resonates with you, you can email us at podcast@castrocountryclub.org or hit us up on Facebook.
Our speak pipe too.
Speak pipe. So we have what an unfortunate name. So let's go to Bonnie Violet. She says, lesson number 2, authentically expressing my emotions, as in feeling my feelings and sharing them with others. I'm able to cry again with myself and with others.
Absolutely.
Bonnie Violet, I always want to give you a hug.
I know, exactly. And you're so far away.
So far away.
Bonnie, it's like I was saying the last time, it's like this. I think that based on that, what you were saying, like this allows you to learn how to sort through bullshit. And I mean, like, if folks can't handle you when you need to go through that, and I don't mean it in a way like, oh God, throw away. It's just that there are some people that, maybe that's just not the role that they're going to play in your life.
Right.
But when you are going through what you're going through, pay attention to the people who are able to kind of support you in that. And I don't mean blow smoke up your ass, but it's more like, unless that's what you need.
You better not, Bonnie Violet.
I know, exactly.
She said, I never left them.
I know, exactly. Thank you. But I love this. It's like, Bonnie,
it's like we have another
Karen.
one. Hey, Karen.
Hi, Anthony and Lulu. Needed a break from work and seeing your two faces uplifting.
Oh, thanks, Karen. I'm giving you a hug right now. A consensual hug, if it's consensual.
I know. Karen, you're amazing.
Thanks, Karen. So one of the other things I have here is the path of least resistance sometimes starts with a bit of resistance.
Oh, absolutely.
That was my example of this was when I was chairing the conference this last year. For those just not familiar, I was the chair of the Western Roundup Living Sober Conference for 2021.
Rock star.
Yeah. Thanks. And wow, was that a learning experience? It was a magical, great learning experience. And one of the things I learned is that, number 1, I don't always have to have the answers. Number 2, you benefit by finding strengths in people and focusing on those strengths rather than focusing on the things that aren't working. And the other thing is, when your ego starts to get involved, I'll speak for myself. When my ego starts to get involved in any of my decision making, there's normally there's going to be like a ripple around me. So the part about resistance, though, is it's inside of me. So normally when I'm trying to engage in like maybe a new behavior, there's something inside of me that's going to push against it. I used to study with this guru, Jim Gilman, it's from Vedanta, and the idea is that whenever there is a change, it'll generate heat, right? And so that's the same thing, kind of the way I experience it in my body. Socially or psychologically, there's always a little bit of heat, some resistance. Or go ahead.
I would say it's like if the way you know something's working, if it's tingling.
Yeah, you said that.
Very, very
yeah,
basic,
you said that a couple weeks. I really like it. Yeah, if it's tingling, yeah. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of tingling. So you know what? This has been a very tingly year.
Yeah, no, it has.
It's been a very tingly year.
No, I think honestly, it's like I think was healthy with this idea of growth.
Mm.
And I was talking about like one of my favorite things about the podcast is like we're continuing like expanding or allowing ourselves to kind of invite growth in. I think that growth is not always comfortable, especially if you try to fight it, because when you're doing the work for you in recovery or whatever, that kind of change and growth is what you can expect.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to look pretty, and it probably won't look the way you thought it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
But it's there and it's coming.
Yeah. And you have to change. Well, I'll speak for myself. In a lot of the things, so I've done endurance work, like I've engaged in a lot of things that take a lot of grit. And one of the things that I've had to do is I've had to change my relationship to discomfort.
Yeah.
Right. I had to change my relationship with anxiety. And of course, a lot easier said than done. People are probably wondering, well, how the hell do you change your relationship to discomfort? I think one of the things is sometimes I treat it as data. So for example, rather than if I'm not able to do something and I start to kind of beat myself up over it, rather than, take that a step further, I can use that as data and say to myself, well, actually, this is just showing me that this is something important, right? And then I can talk myself away from that. I don't have to beat myself up over it, right? Like I can still achieve a goal without having to push myself down the stairs.
Yeah, I do. And I started doing this like 13 years ago, like maybe even before then. It's like, and it was a slow process. And what I do is like, I have a higher power. I choose to call it God. And what I do is when things are, when I'm uncomfortable, when I'm anxious, or when things are not, I thank my higher power for that experience, because there was a time where I used to use drugs and alcohol to numb it. And you don't get to just numb selective feelings. You numb some things, you numb everything.
That's right.
And so now I get to feel it. I get to feel the good, I get to feel the bad, and it gives me proper perspective. It allows me to appreciate the times when I'm feeling amazing,
Yeah. I love that idea. The idea of having gratitude for everything that's brought into my life. So even if it's something that's rough, it's thanking God for the experience to say practice patience.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I was joking, say it's like all things that don't kill you, put a little hair on your chest.
Oof. For sure, yeah. That's
or I'll make you fat, because that was my case.
Shit, I gained like 30 pounds during the start of COVID.
DoorDash,
for sure. We better not be endorsing people with that.
God, I know. It's like,
but yeah, circling back to that idea, I hadn't thought about it, but it's definitely something that's characterized some of the latter part of this year for me, which is being grateful for all the things that God has taken from me, despite my kicking and screaming, and also being grateful for the things that have been brought into my life. I have so much to be grateful for. And even in those moments when I don't feel like things are going well, if I focus hard enough, there's always something there.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that another way to look at it, those things are their opportunities. They're opportunities to put into practice the work that we've been doing.
That's right.
Because right now, the work that we're doing on recovery and our self-care or whatever is getting us ready for those tough times.
Yeah.
For those blind spots, for those times when it just seems, in the past, things seem overwhelming, and the reality is we're in that. We're knee deep in that, and so knee deep. Yeah.
Knee deep. And well, the other thing is that I don't want to give anyone the impression that I am always grateful. There have definitely been moments where I have lied in bed, scared of the world, anxious out of my mind, and I've tried to have gratitude even in those moments. But even then, I can't always get there, and I don't want to be Pollyanna about it. I don't even know if that's the expression, but I don't want to be like overly positive because they're or pathologize, hard feelings. I guess what I'm trying to land on here is that there's room to have hard feelings.
I know.
Or rough feelings.
You do have to say it. Sometimes you do have to honor it.
Yeah.
You honor it and whatever, and hopefully, if you don't stay in it too long.
Yeah, I didn't want anyone walking away from today's episode thinking, man, like I should have gratitude.
Well, you know what? Honestly, okay, so maybe it is a good idea to walk away thinking that it's idea to start the practice, because when you have a regular practice of gratitude, you start to, it's just like you said, you're changing your relationship. You start to look at situations differently. Like, I'm trying to think of something. Okay, so I had been applying for these below market rate apartments. These are in the city, San Francisco. Every building, there's a certain percentage of below market rate apartments.
Okay.
And you know, San Francisco is not a cheap city to live in. And I was thinking, and I had thought, this is the only way I'm going to have my own apartment. And so after all this time, it must have been like 17 years. It's like I'm a bit exaggerating. Maybe it was 10 or 15.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I get the call or the text and I get my below market. So I did all the paperwork. I turned everything in, and it turns out after all that work that I make too much money.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wah, wah, wah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, exactly. So I
would want to throw myself down the stairs.
No, well, I thought about that, and really, it was amazing, the grace that, because of the work that I had been doing and because of the gratitude.
Yeah.
I was grateful that this was the reason why I got rejected. Because I'm always like, wait a minute, because I don't want to be, I don't want to be like pigeonholed or limited.
Yeah. What was the lesson there? I'm just curious.
The lesson is like, okay, so it's what I thought I needed.
Yeah.
But if I had just lived and done everything based on just getting that, then I would have sold myself short on the greater things that were in store for me.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm more than just that. I don't need that. There may be something else later on down the line that I need, but that's not what I need.
Yeah.
I've already moved past that, and I'm like, woohoo.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you know, I'm getting at it. It's that thing where it's like, it was a great resource when it was, but I no longer need that resource.
Yeah.
And that means that I am capable of so much more, and I just have to be open to it. I can't like sell myself short.
How did you get to that lesson? Because obviously there's a skill, there was something along the way that you had to learn. So what was the lesson there?
You know, I think it had a lot to do with like getting right with my finances. There was like something happened last couple years ago where my credit score was nothing was right, and I was in a situation where I was subletting a place, grateful for that, but realizing that if I don't get my finances together in the time that I need to go, I'm going to be back in the same situation. I had fear around it. And so I started paying off things, taking all of the negative stuff off my report. And I slowly changed how I look at paying my bills and being responsible. And I've gotten to this place where my attitude is like, if I owe it, that means that I don't have that money to spend. And I reprioritize. And there was something about like in all this time, I had never done a true, complete amends. Amends was, I needed to include the financial piece to it. So now I don't have the fear around that because I worked through that. And I didn't need it because I had the resources. Like number one, I had the credit score, because there is nothing worse than having the money and the job and being able to afford it and no credit score. That's like a cigarette without a lighter. It's just real. It's no good. And so I was able to kind of put myself in a place where that wasn't my only option. And I think that options, like, don't get me wrong, if I would have if it hadn't been for what I had, the work that I'd done to prepare, I probably would have freaked out. Would not have been able to find any gratitude. And although I probably would have gotten the place and then struggled in that situation.
You know what's cool about what you're saying is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that by virtue of having these experiences, the ones that were like difficult, you discovered a value, and the value that you discovered led you to this change in perspective, which then taught you a lesson.
Absolutely.
And throughout all of that, you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Right. What a nice lesson.
And you know, but and that's a tough thing. Okay.
What is?
That's a tough thing. Like, I think that we have to love each other enough to like, I have to love you enough to let you have the experiences you're having with your relationship or with your breakup of your relationship. And not trying to fix you and make you better, but allow you to feel what you feel, to go through, because sometimes we need to experience those things so that they can build character. Right. So they can, so that they can really help you for what's really down the road.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's from the 12 and 12, is that nothing is lost or wasted in God's economy.
No, it's not. No.
Right. And I like to think when I get into that perspective, let me read what just came in and I'll go back to my perspective.
Are you sure? Finish the thought because you always forget.
I do forget.
Yeah,
I do. Okay.
Thought.
So, oh shit.
We'll leave that up there.
Oh, I forgot.
Okay. We'll come back. Can we? Okay.
All right. In 2020, go ahead. Read it.
And Bonnie Violet wrote, in 2022, I'm going to live my best life, focusing on me, especially around relationships, i.e. lovers, friendship, family, and vocation, to increase my capacity for contentment and satisfaction, to no longer live as if I do not need anyone. I love that.
To live the life I want. Hey, come through, Bonnie Violet. Words of wisdom. What was I saying?
I'm not sure.
Jeez.
That's okay. It'll come back.
I'm pretty sure it was insightful.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Gosh. Okay, that's really going to bother me. I think I remember.
Yeah.
When I think of, so my sponsor, we do this meditation. Well, we used to do this meditation where we would sit down and we'd close our eyes and he would say, think of every sound as the presence of God, right? And so I would sit there and I would hear cars go by and people yelling. And then it changed my perspective because I thought, oh, here's God showing up in all of these different unexpected ways. Okay, so by extension of that, one of the things that I've done this year and one of the lessons that's been folded in is when I'm in a situation, if I have the perspective, everything is exactly as it should be. I'm supposed to be around these people. I'm supposed to have this experience. There's a lesson here for me. There's something, right? My existence in this situation is integral to whatever it is that's happening. There's a softening that happens, I feel kind of connected to everyone around me. The other thing I used to do, this is from years ago, this is a different idea, is this is back when I was doing heartbreak research. Whenever I would take, this is I was living in Oakland, and whenever I take the BART here, I would get really anxious on the subway just because of the crazy shit that's gone down. Mm-hmm. And I would, in order to like kind of lighten up, I would remind myself of two things. One, every single person in this car wants to feel loved, is here because at some point someone loved them. That was my first thing. And the second thing was everyone here has very likely experienced heartbreak, right? And there's something about both of those ideas that really grounds me. And I think that's one of the things that I'm also taking away from 2021 is this shared experience that we all have. As trite as it may seem, that we really are all doing our best.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how unique this is, but we are having this experience no matter how we're approaching it. Mm-hmm. We're in this together.
Yeah. Oh, Anthony, Lulu, hold on. What do you want to learn in 2022? Bonnie Violet always hitting us with a good question.
I know, exactly.
What do I want to, do you know? Man. Well, go.
No, you go.
Okay. So at least what I'm thinking of, okay, here's the thing. I don't even know where I was going. Okay, I know. One of the things that I want to do is I just moved into my own place. This is the first time I ever have my own place. I really want to make it my own. I really want to make it my sanctuary. Yeah. And it's slowly becoming that. And I also want to continue cultivating relationships with people I care about. I've shared before that I'm not dating or hooking up, and I want to take that into the coming year. So I'm actually on the opposite end of Bonnie Violet. I don't want to invest in romantic or sexual relationships because I really want to take that energy and put it into all these other things. And not because it's like a Stella is getting her groove back or an eat, pray, love situation, but truly just given how much time that I've put into romantic relationships and hooking up for the last few years, I really want to go into 2022 or be in 2022 without putting all of that energy out there and really shifting it toward things that I absolutely love and value. How about you, Lulu?
I think for me, it's like, well, I don't know. It's like, I don't know that there's anything specifically that I want to learn. I think I want to continue doing what I'm doing, mm-hmm. but I think that I want to practice humility. Mm. I want to be a little more humble, mm-hmm. because I think that, it's easy to slip into that place where you think you've got it. I got this, boo, I got it. the reality of it is that I just don't know. I mean, it's like I don't know what it is that I want to learn. There's things that I want to do, but that's different. Maybe I want to learn how to find a way to do those things and to maintain, because it's so easy to get caught up in what you want to do and lose sight of. Like when I first got sober, I used to break things down, like the things that I have to do, the things that I need to do, like that are time sensitive, and the things that I want to do, and maybe I need to go back to that. I need to just start making those 3 lists and really kind of prioritizing those things, because I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, no one is.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The other thing, we have to start rounding closing.
Yeah, I know,
soon.
But
we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, but in the last 10 minutes,
yeah,
let's talk about this, because we both are in this situation. Okay, so I came here. It's like I had gone on to a friend's wedding in Provincetown.
Okay.
And there was something about the kind of freeness and tranquility and the fun or whatever. When I got back, all of a sudden I realized that my space needed to be changed, because when I too am living, got my own place, and I set it up in a way that was for people that I wanted to come in. It wasn't about me, it was about them. And so the first thing I did was I started to make changes. Like I moved everything around. I made my bed my focal point and whatever. And kind of to what you were saying, I want to make this my space.
Yeah.
But more importantly, make this my space, a space that's comfortable for me. Doesn't mean I want to invite people in. It's just I don't have to do things the way I thought they needed to be. Like I created it based on what I thought I wanted.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I had a conversation with my friend Ken, I think it was yesterday or maybe even today, about the origin of behaviors or the origin of thoughts. So in my case, it's like, if I'm going to do something, where is that originating? Am I reacting to a situation? Am I adapting to my surroundings, or is it coming from this authentic, sincere place? I hear that. And I think that going into that's kind of maybe the bridge between 2021 and 2022. Hey, Lulu, with the time that we have remaining, I am wondering if you have any wishes for our listeners. What do you want folks out there to have in 2022?
It's something that I share with my sponsees all the time. I think awareness, greater awareness. I think that all you can do, I mean, it's like the truth of it is that we're not perfect. We strive for perfection, but we settle for progress in this. And the truth of it is, as long as you're aware of what needs to happen, or what you'd like to happen, then that's the beginning, because then you can start taking action to kind of make that happen. That's all.
I love that. Yeah. For me, I think I want this for you as much as I want it for myself. Is I want you to be free from anger. That's part of one of the prayers. I want you to be free from anger. I want you to trust yourself. I want you to really get in touch with, I don't know, that quiet part of you that's been aching to be heard. I think the other thing is, I don't want to say happiness, exactly. But more than, I think really where I'm going with that, it's not happiness necessarily, but an acceptance of what things are. Like we don't have to internalize everything that happens around us. Nor do we have to process to kind of speak back to what I was saying earlier.
I think another thing, and let's see if I got my point.
It's under
this experience that we're all going through. I just want you to know that this too, just like everything else, will pass. It may not pass in the time that we want it to, but it will pass. It changes on the horizon. It's going to change. And so make the most of the now. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, when we were on lockdown, it's like relearning how to love the space that you're in. Like a lot of people like having to be at home. And I don't know about you, but home for a while was just storage for my things. It was because I was constantly moving. And, and now it's like, it has a much more, substantial meaning or place in my life.
I hear that. Yeah. And thank you, Lulu. Before we start giving them our contact information, the other thing I want to like stress, and this is just based on my experiences this year, and we hear this a lot in the rooms, we don't have to do any of this shit alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, and if you think you don't have anyone around you to confide in, reach out to us. You know what I mean? Email us at podcast@castrocountryclub.org. There are people out there. Like I said, we don't have to do anything by ourselves, including having those thoughts that are scary to us. I once heard someone say that if you have a fifth step that you don't trust anyone to kind of hear, that you should call a random central office at like an estate and just say it to the person on the other end. Yeah. So
it's fortunate that we have people that we can do.
Yeah. Takeaway is you don't have to do anything by yourself. Okay, so how can folks get a hold of us?
Before they do that, can you let's so this is the last episode of the season.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I know, exactly. And so we'll be taking some time off next month to kind of rethink how we approach this, so that we can bring you
yeah, we're taking a strategy month. We're gonna take all the feedback we've gotten. We're gonna give the podcast. I don't know if a facelift is the right word, but we're going to infuse it with so much more
injectables.
Injectable. The point is that we're going to make this better for you because we love you. We care about you.
We do. We absolutely love you.
Yeah. So how can folks get a hold of us?
Well, they can get a hold of us obviously through castrocountryclub.org.
Yeah.
And then hold on just a second. Podcast. Sorry.
Wait, was that a message that came in for me earlier? Was that from my brother? I thought I saw one. Yeah. Go ahead.
So we normally close off with just letting you know that the Castro Country Club is a clean and sober gathering place for all people in a home for the queer recovery community.
That's right.
And we are located in the heart of the Castro district of San Francisco, and we endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy. And we already talked about castrocountryclub.org, and then podcast. Is it podcast?
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, at castrocountryclub.org, and our speak pipe. And the name is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you can leave us a voice message at www.speakpipe.com at the CCC.
Yeah.
And we meet regularly 4:00 on
Tuesdays.
Exactly.
Pacific Standard Time.
And if you want to get in touch with me, you can always reach me at LouisLou86 at the Insta.
Yeah. I am still not on any social media, but listen, I've been thinking about it. And that might happen in 2022. No promises. I have been thinking about it. That's it. That's all I have to offer. And so we'll be back in February.
Yes,
because we're taking January.
February.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Black History Month.
Black History Month.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.